Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Eye on Icon. I am your co-host Fezbox, and with me we have Iconographer. How are you been? Another week, Iconographer.
Another week closer to launch of Balanced on OMM and all the other projects we're excited about. So, it's we're in March now, and so things should really start heating up pretty soon here.
Oh yes, in fact, I woke up to a bit of green this morning, so that was good to see after a stressful weekend of come on markets turn around.
Yeah, and when it's as exciting as the last couple weeks were in terms of the price action. There were a few days where I'd go to bed and wake up and the price would be exact the same, and I think my portfolio tracking app was broken or frozen or something like that. So the only thing worse than the money when the price going down is the price doing nothing in terms of the excitement factor. But yeah, I'll certainly take a little bit of green over a little bit of red any day. That's for sure.
Definitely. Look, we have a real treat today. We have Scott joining us, and you're going to see that. We'll cover the news, and then we're going to have an interview with Scott where we talk all about balance. We throw in a few sneaky questions here and there, and we get some previews of things to come, and we also get a bit of a breakdown about BTP, which was excellent, and I think there's a lot of uh, desire in the community to hear about how it will work essentially. And Scott gave us a live example, but also hinted at how beneficial it will be to Icon and ICX. So really excited to get everyone to get to the interview. But before we get there, as usual, let's run through the news. And on that note as well, as you know, this podcast is powered by Icon Plus, and we just love bringing the news to everyone. So let's jump in. First thing we had on the list was ICONbet releases another game, which is called War. It's the ninth game on the platform. They are just, it's been on a roll. Every second week now there's a new game coming out, which is fantastic. It seems even just from launching there's a decent amount of volume, and it's a very easy game to just understand and play. Have you had a go at it, Iconographer?
Not yet, but War is one of those games where I remember in elementary school and middle school where you don't really know many card games, but everyone knows how to play War. So it's certainly very accessible. And yeah, as we talked about, hopefully I counted right, and it is the ninth game. But also, I saw in the Telegram chat they said there's about 5 to 6 more in the pipeline that they're moving toward, and obviously the two biggest are the poker as well as the sports book, and those two also should be, add those to the list of potentially launching in March, or at least getting. Ideally, we get a good taste of what they're going to look like in March. I don't think they've set exact release dates yet, but those seem to be pretty close to launching.
Yep. No, it's great. Can't wait for poker. I know there's a lot of people can't wait for it. Exciting times with IconBet.
Yeah, absolutely. The next piece of news is Markus from the Icon HyperConnect team. He's been involved in Icon probably as long as the project's been around. Basically, he left for a little bit to work on some other stuff, but obviously came back, and everyone's really excited about that. But he conducted a interview with a publication called Crowdfund Insider. All about Icon. I would encourage you to read the whole thing, but there's one quote here that really stood out and I think got a lot of people excited. So he said, let's start with Icon 2.0. In layman's terms, it's a complete redesign slash upgrade of Icon's core blockchain engine, rewritten in the Go programming language. This overhaul of the core software architecture results in a much faster, more secure, and efficient Icon network with several additional features, including interoperability between different blockchain networks such as Ethereum, additional decentralization, and friendlier developer environments. In short, it's a complete upgrade slash rehaul of the network that brings radical speed, security, usability, and scalability. Some of Icon Loop's enterprise clients, such as the Seoul government, are preparing to use it, and Icon 2.0 plans to launch in 2021, July 2021. So, obviously some of that we already knew. It's really cutting edge technology as far as blockchain is concerned. But I think more importantly is the explicit expression that the Seoul government will prepare to use Icon 2.0 and whatever implementations they are officially going to move forward with. So, still a little bit vague in terms of exactly what that means, but just hearing direct confirmation from a pretty good source that the government would be using the new iteration of Icon is certainly some exciting news, as well as kind of I don't know if we had a specific month before, but hearing July, it certainly narrows things down. We had been hearing kind of mid-year previously, so to hear a specific month is certainly encouraging as well. So, as I said, be sure to read the entire interview, and we'll link to that in the show notes so it's easier for you to find it.
I did read that article. It was a great read. You actually wanted to get through to the next question to find out a bit more information. So, highly recommend looking through it. We'll have it in the show notes. Next bit of news: BitHub is offering staking for Icon holders. So now that's another exchange, a big exchange that is offering that feature. It's a huge exchange in South Korea, and it has a 24-hour trading volume of around 1.5 billion. So uh, again, with this stuff, the more exchanges, the more anyone that jumps on board the Icon ecosystem, just as a representation of that, this is an excellent product that and chain that we have here. So it's great to see, and it's also that direct push that we've been asking for, reaching out, getting the foundation, co-marketing, etc. This is happening. These are all the things that actually shows that there has been work happening in the background. They don't just happen next day. Community goes, oh, why isn't there marketing 2 days later? Something comes out. It doesn't work that way. They have been actively working, and this is all happening thanks to the hard work that's happened in the background. So, yeah, that was a great bit of news. Any thoughts on that, iconographer?
Yeah, BitHum is, I think it might be, I don't say the exchange for South Korea, but certainly one of the primary gateways for, Korean residents to get direct access to crypto. So being able to, incentivize them to buy and hold Icon due to the staking rewards, those who already aren't in the ecosystem, certainly a great little additional marketing there. So, certainly encouraging. And as alluded to, it's in the last 24 hours, it did 1.5 billion. I don't know what the average is over time, but that's certainly no small number. And that's according to CoinGecko, and they have pretty accurate volume numbers. So I think that's a pretty reliable figure. Next piece is just as an FYI, kind of Sesame Seed is no longer being distributed daily. We've covered Sesame Seed a good amount in the past before on this podcast. I've also written a good amount on it. So if you're not familiar with it, we'll put something in the show notes to get you acclimated with it. But basically, for those who stake to Sesame Seed and receive seed rewards, as of now, they've been being distributed on a daily basis. But Sesame Seed continues to grow and grow and to add more and more chains. And at a certain point, doing the daily distribution across multiple chains has gotten really, really cumbersome and complicated, and it's kind of created some ancillary issues within the project. So what they're deciding to do is, in order to better scale the project and so it can grow more over the long term, instead of doing daily distribution, they're going to do it on a less frequent basis. I don't think they specified exactly how often that would be, but it's not really a big deal from my perspective because the amount of rewards you're getting is still the same. So maybe then rather than getting, say, hypothetically 10 seed every day, maybe every week you get 70. So you're still going to get as much as you would have otherwise. But if you don't see it happen, if you don't see it pop up in your wallet on a regular basis like you had been, that's just why. But I think, in the grand scheme of things, it's a step in the right direction because they recognize that in order to further grow the platform, this is kind of an issue they'll have to resolve. And they haven't ruled out, as far as I can tell, coming back to daily distribution in the future. But for the time being, it's a way to make the project a bit more sustainable over the long term and be able to scale a bit more as well.
Yeah, look, if they can automate this, if stopping the daily distribution, it still doesn't impact anything. You're still getting everything you get from seed on whenever it gets distributed. But at the same time, if they can work on automating a lot of this in the back end, that's the time they're saving. Heck, it's a win-win. Do it. Yeah, I don't need to see seed every day in my wallet. It's not like, and I guarantee it's not like everyone getting their seed tokens is running to the exchange every day and offloading it for the few, ICX they would get for it. So, it's great that they've been very honest with the community, and let's see what. Hopefully, it helps them build out their platform and smooth things out on that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, it is the end of another month, which means we get another Icon development update from the foundation. Uh, you know, most notably, I'd say, is the contribution proposal system is officially live. It's up and running. If you want to go submit a proposal for a project, you can do so right now. It is recommended that you put it forward on the forums first. This is a better way to kind of help flesh out any potential issues with your proposal, really make you think it through and kind of try to get some initial support for it as well. So most folks seem to be doing that. There is one project that has already been put forward it directly into the system. So this is all kind of it's a new process for everyone. So we'll see how this all plays out. But certainly very exciting. It's a good way to inject a lot more capital into the ecosystem. It's a really good way. Scott will allude to this during our interview, but he mentions how it's a great way to help help further build the community and strengthen the community as well, which is an aspect of it I hadn't really thought through, but certainly a good way to look at it as well. The other piece of news is that the test net is being updated and upgraded to be more reliable and run a bit more consistently. For most ICONists, this probably isn't huge news, but I know a segment of the development community had been getting a little bit frustrated just on how often the testnet would basically go down. For those of them who are trying to test out projects they are building to make sure the smart contracts are operating correctly and the code's operating as it should, they utilize the testnet, which basically simulates the main Icon network. But if the testnet's going down every once in a while, it kind of makes it harder to do that. So the foundation, to their credit, recognized this as something they wanted to address. So they are in the process of upgrading us to make it much more reliable with a lot more uptime. So that's certainly important. Finally, we have the formal recognition that the Rosetta specifications have been deployed to GitHub. Rosetta is something that a lot of the community are excited about, primarily because it is kind of the main technical requirement for getting listed on Coinbase. So it appears to be either close to done or done and ready to go. And so obviously a good sign. It doesn't certainly guarantee a Coinbase listing by any means, but it is basically a prerequisite in a box that you have to check in order to get that done. So hopefully we get some better news on Coinbase down the road. But for now, it's certainly exciting to see that get resolved and get completed.
Look, it was a update that had quite a lot there, and I just wanted to share one thought I had on the CPS component as well. Yes, it is live. Actually, that should have gotten its own news segment. It is live on mainnet with the funds in there, and we can have proposals going in and start whatever the proposals may be get verified and built out. But I want to highlight your comment about posting in the forum. I believe it is really important because it gives not just PREF, every iconist a chance to kind of go in there and go, oh, this is some of the ideas, because essentially it is inflation that is contributing to this fund. So it's in everyone's best interest to ensure that these funds are helping build out the network. And a couple of things that can happen by floating these proposals in the forums first is there could be some teams that have similar ideas, and these forums could enable a bit of cross chat and going, oh, actually, what if we combine? This is just a hypothetical, but combine ideas here. We were going to go down this route. These are fairly similar, but we could have a bigger impact for the Icon ecosystem if we move forward in this direction. These are the opportunities the forum presents by actually fleshing out the ideas before it goes into the CPS proposal system, and you have to, lock in burn 50 ICX to submit it and then get voted on. So everyone keep that in mind. And if you're just someone who cares about Icon and an Icon enthusiast and you just want to see what's coming, get in those forums and check out. There's now 6, 7 every day. There's new proposals getting put in there. And one thing I've noticed, for example, I noticed a team went in and revised their proposal based on, I believe they would have observed some of the new proposals that have come through, and they've revised how they've presented their proposal with a lot more detail. So you can draw a lot, especially if you're thinking of an idea to put forward in CPS. Jump in there, take a look how it's being done. I know I'm learning a lot from it. It's been great.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's something I'm certainly excited to see. I've been talking about for a while, and so I check the forums pretty regularly to see what new projects are popping up and what interesting stuff people might be wanting to work on.
Yeah. So a couple of things that may have just quick fire items news. So we had Brian Lee have a live stream with Tempo where they do overview of the project they're working on. Now I will confess I haven't watched it yet. It is on the list. We're keen to anyway get Brian and co on the show to talk through everything to do with that project. But that did come out this week. If you were wanting to get a bit more information, there jump on and listen to that. We'll include the link in the show notes. I just had this moment. I just remembered also one of the other initiatives as part of Katina, Corey's been working on. He's trying to build out a PREP portfolio piece on that side. I was thinking about this the other day and I thought it's quite good. There's a lot of PREPs. There's a lot of information out there. It's great. He's trying to compile it. I believe he's actually creating certain videos and sharing his thoughts on what they've been working on, what they've been doing for the Icon ecosystem. So it'll be good to see how that turns out and where it ends up. Any other bits and pieces, Iconographer, that you could think of that we haven't covered?
I'm sure there's plenty out there that we haven't covered, but in the interest of time, and we spent a good amount of time with Scott on the interview that we'll get to in a second here. And so, if you've gotten this far, we certainly encourage you to get through the end because he has a lot of, we wanted to flesh out of him as much new information as possible. He's been on a number of different, YouTube podcasts and interviews. He's also just super involved with the community and provides a lot of direct input publicly. So he's always out there providing information, but we were trying to frame the interview in a way that tries to get as much out of him as possible. So even if you've been following the project super closely, we think there's something that you can learn from this interview. And as always, it seems like another week's gone by where the idea of ever selling Icon gets harder and harder to determine just because it seems like it's, as Scott talks through some of the stuff that he's going to talk through, it just seems that's going to be much more valuable to hold rather than to sell. And that's almost, irregardless of what the actual price ends up being.
Look, I make the same mistake. I follow a rule. Okay, I'm going to have a trading stash of ICX, and it just turns into my holding stash every time. Every time.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. Look, let's jump in. I think you've covered it brilliantly. It is a great interview, and it's not just about balance. We touch on quite a few things on the broader Icon ecosystem, and I believe a few things that a lot of the community want to hear about or keen to get a little bit of extra detail, and I feel Scott touched on that extra detail to keep us content. So really hope you enjoy this interview, and let's jump in. Okay, today we have a guest on our show, Iconographer. Do you want to tell us who we have on the show today?
Today we have on Scott Smiley. I think everyone who's been in the Icon community for a while now has probably certainly seen his name, if not heard from him on a number of different projects and initiatives he's been involved with. He's been with Icon one way or another for almost 3 years now. Most notably, he is one of the co-leaders of ICX Station, which is sort of the official, unofficial incubator for the Icon project. Provides a lot of strategic resources and financial resources to emerging projects on the Icon, as well as he is one of the main contributors to the Balance project, which I think everyone in the Icon community is well aware of, especially based on the Airdrip campaign that they've recently come out with. And so we're really excited to have him on today.
I am beyond excited as well to have him on. Welcome to the show, Scott. How are you going?
Thanks for having me on, guys. Really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. So Scott, today, we have a ton of questions, and I put it out to Twitter. People came back to me. I've added some of those questions to the list. So let's dive in. Everyone's excited about Balanced. Everyone's excited about many other things as well. So hopefully we'll sneak in a few cheeky questions and get some answers as well. One of the questions, first off, we like to ask everyone, and I'll probably give you a 1-minute warning on this one because probably everyone who's familiar with you has heard a bit of your background, but for anyone listening new to the show, tell us how you got into crypto.
Yeah, absolutely, will do. So I guess in early 2017 is when I first started paying attention to blockchain and cryptocurrency. My roommate at the time, who actually now works at the Block, came home. He had downloaded Coinbase, and he told me, I got to download this app. I got to take a look at these charts. I'd never heard of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I didn't know what blockchain was. I didn't know anything about it. And took one look at the price charts, and I was like, it's time to time to start learning more. I was at Deutsche Bank at the time, and I guess prior to Icon, I had 2 years of investment banking experience at Deutsche Bank. And yeah, so I started spending my nights and weekends reading white papers, talking to people in online communities, doing as much self-education as I could in what little free time I had. And then I met Min Kim, as many of our listeners know, one of the founders of the Icon Project. I met him at a conference. Just kept the relationship warm for a couple months, and then when he started the kind of U.S. presence out in San Francisco, I was one of the first hires over there. And I guess the rest is history. That was in April 2018.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Very,
No, I did not know. I actually hadn't heard that part of it. It's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess we'll kind of jump right into the what I guess is probably the hottest topic, at least at the moment, as far as Icon's concerned, and that's DeFi. There's a number of projects that are under development. So what was the catalyst? What were the discussions for really beginning kind of that effort to ramp up the DeFi protocols, applications, all the building? And why do you think DeFi is something that Icon needs to build out, and why DeFi needs to be an important part of the ecosystem?
Yeah, I guess this is going to date back maybe a little earlier than you guys would have expected. Me and Dakey went to DevCon in Osaka, the big Ethereum conference, and essentially doing some market research, seeing what the latest trends were, doing a little bit of networking, of course, as well. But really, what a major takeaway from that event was that DeFi was getting pumped hard at this conference. There was a huge push of many different applications of it. How it can be used, not only in the way that it is now with Uniswap and yield farming and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't even really being talked about. It was even before all of that had happened. It was really more just MakerDAO and how DAI was getting used in emerging countries, and how decentralized finance could actually help people in more developing parts of the world. But I mean, the takeaway was the same, was that DeFi is a major trend, and kind of a light bulb went off for me personally at the time, thinking about, what something like MakerDAO really means for a public blockchain ecosystem. And coming with my background from Deutsche Bank, really what it enables is leverage and debt. And that's a key part of DeFi right now, is looking at, creating kind of the building blocks of debt markets. And debt is really what fuels any economy. And my viewpoint of public blockchains, there's not going to be just one blockchain that rules them all. I really do think of each individual blockchain as somewhat of a digital nation with its own online community, token holders, governance, economics, pretty much all the main pieces of a nation. And I think, having something like Balanced, having a DeFi infrastructure is kind of a mandatory minimum for a successful public blockchain with a cryptocurrency for the long term. That's kind of how this all came about. I guess, I hope that answered your question there.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So, relative to other protocols, how advanced would you rank Icon in terms of DeFi development?
I think, obviously, behind Ethereum, as they're leading the charge with a lot of existing Solidity-based code. But, relatively speaking, compared to a lot of other layer ones don't necessarily even have smart contract capabilities right now. I think, Icon's priority was getting that up sooner rather than later. So we do have, a fair amount of development. I wouldn't say that anyone is so far ahead, when you look at the DAU of even the most successful applications. So I'd say, Icon is right where we need to be.
Yeah, I've kind of seen, obviously Ethereum is kind of where it's at right now, but I've seen other projects that I tend to follow, which isn't representative of the entire market, but certainly, they've started to pop up a little bit in kind of early conversations, and at least kind of, DeFi is coming to this at some point in time. But it seems like in terms of actual product launching and really getting going, Icon certainly seems to be on the right side of the curve as far as forward momentum and everything like that. And, we have Balanced, which everyone I think is pretty familiar with. We have OMM launching soon. We have Optimus, which is another one that's in the works. We have Utrade, which is via the Unified protocol, which is kind of which is basically an AMM, automated market maker, similar to Uniswap. So there's plenty of irons in the fire right now, and actually Scott and I and a couple other Icon community members have been working on another project that we're very excited about, and we're actually going to announce it next week. So you'll want to be on the paying attention to social channels for that, and it'll just be another item on the list that people can get excited about.
I thought we just were about to get an Iron Icon exclusive on top of the interview.
Not quite yet, but we wanted to give at least a little bit of a heads up that something's in the pipeline. So I think another reason to get excited on, excited for Icon and excited for DeFi, and kind of pivoting off of DeFi a little bit, Scott. What's an underrated reason people should be bullish on Icon? There's plenty of reasons for people to be excited, but maybe one that's a bit more under the radar, or one that has a lot more significance that people don't quite understand. What do you think the answer to that would be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I kind of alluded to this maybe a week or two ago on Twitter. I am excited for all the DeFi products launching, but, really what's getting me excited is the progress we're making with BTP, not just like the technology itself, which is interesting, and unique in the sense that, a lot of the bridges that are being built right now are not trustless, and, maybe people haven't had an issue with that yet, but as regulators take a closer eye on what's happening between these different bridges, and also, maybe something could go wrong there, I think BTP becomes even more interesting as the solution as a fully trustless bridge. But even outside of the technology side that I was just talking about, I mean, we haven't even really announced the economics on it yet, which I'm personally really excited about. Not to get to dig too much into the details here, but after thinking internally, over and over, iterating on different models, like, I think we finally landed on something that really just directly benefits every ICX holder as there's more interchain transactions occurring. So we've really come up with a way that, the more successful BTP is, the more widely used it is, that it's adding direct value to ICX holders. And I think that's really what people are looking for in this market, especially as it matures. Just having your name in an article is going to be not as important as having tangible utility for the token. And I do believe BTP is going to accomplish that. And not only that, not only the economics, I also just am really excited that this is like a great product that I can reach out to other protocols and have like a real conversation about collaboration about, and say like, we have this product, we have this interoperability solution, and we think you guys would be a great fit. And it really leads to just a lot more collaboration and a lot more partnerships in the industry. So, it gives us a great way to collaborate with other protocols and kind of grow our community. And it also adds direct value to ICX. So, I mean, it's kind of you can't really ask for much more than that at that point.
Yeah, and BTP as a concept is kind of what, I think that's what got everyone excited about Icon back from the early days when there was just a white paper of basically being, a blockchain to kind of connect all blockchains. That was kind of the 30,000 foot view of things. Yeah, I'm freelancing a little bit on the questions here, but I did kind of wonder, has the evolution of that interchain design or vision, has it, to your knowledge and to your extent that you would know, has it changed ever since those early days? I know it was kind of an idea more then. Now, obviously, as you get more practical and as you design it itself, things are going to be certainly different. But I guess has it evolved in any way that's been interesting to you, whether that's as a result of the changing of blockchain industry as a whole, or certain parts of technology, or maybe the Icon platform itself, or any of the above?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like just a high level thing that definitely changed a lot was the initial target on just, a private to public interoperability, essentially trying to be like a data transfer level or a data transfer layer between private blockchains. I feel like that's still an interesting use case, and, BTP can still certainly be used for that. But with the rise of DeFi came another use case, which is, public to public interoperability, like being able to trade tokens between networks, lend tokens between networks, and things of that nature, take advantage of arbitrage opportunities. And that's really, I'd say, like the key thing that changed from the initial white paper was talking about, bridging hospitals and banks and things of that nature using BTP to more so, what I'm focused on at least is public to public interoperability, trying to have as many blockchains connected to Icon as possible, and hopefully leading the industry and integrations by the end of 2021.
Very cool.
So
So yeah, well, I was gonna say we want to pivot into balanced, and so ask a couple questions on that. But I guess before we do that, do you just want to give a quick, maybe for those who aren't following the project for whatever reason, if you just want to give a quick kind of overview of what balanced is and what it does and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Balanced is a protocol for that allows people to deposit ICX and borrow against it. Like I was saying, it's that debt layer for Icon. You mint a stablecoin, and that stablecoin is always backed by the ICX that's held and balanced. So it really provides that DeFi infrastructure that a lot of different products can build on it. Some things I'm really excited about is the 0% interest rates. It's much different setup than most other DeFi products in the industry. Really fast, low transaction fees because we're on the Icon network. And the clear pegging mechanism, I think, is really important. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out in the wild, where all of the tokens minted on Balanced are always redeemable for their equivalent value of ICX. So that really should help keep the peg consistent, which has been an issue for other decentralized stablecoins and pegged assets.
Very cool.
So okay, so let's talk about this for a moment. Let's some of the conversations you just mentioned about BTP. I actually had to hold myself back, my arm over my shirt, not to because I want to ask more questions, but we'll come back to that. Let's keep it balanced focus. So obviously at the start of the month, I can't even remember, just a few weeks back, everyone hit the ground running with this wave of tweets and coined the term Airdrip. So how did Airdrip come about? Very interested to hear this.
It's really kind of my own version of HODL, if you will. It really was just a typo. Not gonna lie, I was writing the blog post and I missed the O and typed I instead, and it turned out the Icon community Airdrip. And I looked at it and I read it and I was like, oh, that actually sounds kind of cool. Let me get some feedback from everyone else and see what they think. And got the okay, and that's pretty much the whole story right there. It was a typo as I was crafting like this, the blog post for this announcement.
That's great. There you have it, everyone. It was a typo. Love it.
And so and in terms of the we have the label, but in terms of kind of what motivated the actual concept itself and you guys to build that out and think it through, what sparked that and how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, for me, something I've always thought about is like, is there a way, on protocol to actually directly reward ICX holders with upside in every business that builds on the platform? Really, the answer is no. I tried thinking of a lot of different things. I mean, the answer could still be out there, but at least there's a way to manually do it. And that's kind of where the Airdrip came into play, is like, whether or not you're interested in DeFi, whether or not you have an understanding of these things, understand the risks, and want to get involved. If you're an ICX holder and have been for a while, like, I think you deserve a piece of these projects to at least get a taste of, like, at least get some upside in the project. And then, obviously there is some benefit for Balanced in the fact that you have to come to the Balanced website to claim it, to claim your token. So hopefully convert some users that way. But I mean, I wanted to make sure that, it wasn't just the people who were taking risks and just the people who, really understood DeFi and had the time to educate themselves on it. I wanted to make sure that every ICX holder that's been dedicated enough to at least stake and delegate and support the decentralization of the network is able to benefit from Balanced.
Very cool. So, obviously you've been working hard on Balance for a good amount of time now, which is, I always get nervous when something launches too soon on blockchain, just because you're always concerned about security and things like that. But I know you guys are working hard on your due diligence to make sure that that's, you're building as secure as a system as possible. So we're launching soon, but I imagine, as soon as you launch, that's certainly not going to be the end of things. How do you, do you have a vision yet as far as what additional kind of I don't want to say features to add necessarily, but I guess features to add, and then how you will further grow out the platform, make it more valuable to the Icon network and to balance holders in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have like a laundry list of features that I want to add. As you get closer to launch, you realize, all right, do we need this? Do we need that? Do we need this? You really want to focus on getting out a product that's polished and gets the core features across. So I think out of the gate, there's definitely going to be some governance, some work on the governance smart contract to further decentralize governance and make it easier for token holders to participate in governance. I'd say that's probably going to be like a major focus. And then there's also some enhancements I have in mind for the DEX to make trading easier, like routing trades through different pools, for example. Maybe there's no specific trading pool for the assets you want to trade, but instead of having to execute 2 trades yourself, should be able to just execute it all in one transaction. Being able to add more pools to the DEX. We have the smart contract support for that, but we need to add, support in the front end and back end for that. So yeah, there's there's definitely some items I'm excited to add, kind of the bells and whistles of user experience side of things. And then longer term, I have thoughts about products that can be built on top of Balanced because of the fact that it's a 0% interest rate platform with an upfront origination fee. Opens the opportunity for different types of products to be built on top of it.
So just a cheeky question in here. How soon, Scott, do you see the first, other than USD asset being minted via Balance, the next asset? Jumping the gun here.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen relatively quickly depending on community feedback and if they really, how much they want it. I think Balance dollars is going to provide a lot of the need that we had in Icon and solve a lot of the problems we had in terms of lacking of a stablecoin and lacking of leverage opportunities. So I'm pretty excited to get that launched and make sure that it's following its peg nicely. So I think making sure that all works properly is going to be a top priority once it's out in the wild. And then once we feel confident, I guess I do feel confident, but once we have more data, then I think I'd feel comfortable adding more assets based on community feedback.
Great.
Let's just say maybe a couple months or so.
Yep, no, that's excellent. Okay, so now a bit of a question to check, how it's going amongst teams. So is your team working with Icon Fee to hopefully add assets that get minted via Balance? So is BNUSD on the cards perhaps to get added into that application?
Into which application? What was it?
Icon Fi.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been in touch with the Icon Fi team. I'm not sure. I'd say they definitely want to support as much as they can. I think they already announced that they're going to support the Airdrip, so just working with them on that integration so far, and then I'm sure we'll go from there.
And we obviously, the other big piece of exciting news this last week was that the CPS, the contribution proposal system, was live and up and running. So with that context and your background working with ICX Station, which is essentially Icon's incubator for emerging projects, now that CPS is available, how do you see further recruitment and development, or further recruitment and I guess incubation of developers and new projects and things like that, now that we have this additional kind of asset in the CPS?
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting way to give the community more autonomy. I guess I'm not 100% sure. I view this more as something for our existing community and core community, and a good way to keep people engaged. And paying attention to governance and feel like they have the ability to work on anything. So I think really what the CPS does is it converts more community members who are maybe on the outskirts into more core community members, and kind of just starts as we get more people paying attention to Icon, it's easier to convert them to core community members because there's always something to be involved in. There's always the opportunity to just submit an application and get going. So that's kind of where I view the contribution proposal system is a way to really get the community more mobilized and strengthen the core.
I sense there's a lot of, especially, P-rep teams who might be, well outside of the top 22, but still have a lot of capabilities. And, under that existing system might not necessarily have had the resources to build some kind of cool things. But obviously now with the CPS, they have a much more direct access to that capital and aren't as reliant on the, the campaign side of things in order to get those done. So I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. And I can totally see that being, I guess, a really strong use case for it.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think the CPS is more than just access to funding. It's really just, it's the community empowerment is what I think is the most important aspect of the CPS is giving, a sense of purpose and a sense of direction to the community.
So, Scott, just earlier you mentioned, and I wanted to quickly zero back in on that. And I had this as a quick question to ask, but I thought it would be great to spend some time on it. Initially in the first iteration, when we add as ICX as collateral, who will balance be staking to? So where will those assets get staked?
Initially, I think it's just going to be spread evenly across the top 100 teams, but eventually, after we implement more governance features, the balance token holders will be able to dictate how the collateral is delegated.
Okay, it was a simple answer. Excellent. No, that's great.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Great. So, one of the things I did was I went to Twitter and asked if anyone had some questions, and a few great questions came about. So earlier you touched on BTP, so I will ask this question, and I'm hoping, if possible, Scott, you could give us a real example of how the BTP process would work. The question here was, what do you think makes BTP better than interoperability of DOT and Cosmos?
Yeah, so I don't really like, I'm not going to sit here and attack other networks and how they're, how they've developed their solutions. I can talk about why I'm excited about Icon, and why I'm excited about BTP. And I do think, I touched on that earlier, but the trustless nature of it, and the fact that there's no, in a lot of interoperability solutions out there, there's a central point of failure is the relayers themselves. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 relayers, and they can essentially control the minting and burning of assets. They could take the collateral backing. They have way too much control. On BTP, relayers are just that. All they're doing is relaying messages. They actually don't have any control over the smart contracts themselves. They're not going to be able to unlock tokens and steal them. They're not going to be able to mint tokens without evidence that they need to do so. So really the security, I guess in one word, security of BTP compared to other interoperability solutions is what I find very exciting. And on top of that, I'm not sure, I can't really speak to it. I can't really speak to how IBC directly benefits Atoms holders and accrues value to Atoms. I can't speak to how DOT's interoperability solution actually accrues value to DOT tokens. But I do know that for BTP, one of the biggest focuses is not let's make sure there's direct tangible value to ICX holders based on the utilization of this product. Not just getting Icon awareness and getting more people to buy it because they like it, but tangible value accrued to ICX holders. That's been a major focus. So I think that's really important. Compared to other interoperability solutions.
And I think, kind of touching upon the way the question was kind of asked too is, it seems to me that a lot of crypto communities can be very competitive, and there's a lot of views that kind of think there's, in each little segment of the market, there's only going to be one emergent blockchain of a certain type. And in our case, obviously interoperability is kind of the main, Icon's main push. And so if you believe that only one blockchain can ultimately be interoperable, then you should be concerned about maybe, oh, are we better than these two, and how are we better? But I think the other way to look at it is, each of these different ways of doing things is going to serve different people, in different ways. It's the same way, some people like PlayStation, some people like Xbox. They have different reasons for doing it. It'll probably come down to, what are you trying to build? What are you trying to design? And which platform is going to best serve those goals and those uses. So there's totally a world where Icon is a totally successful technology with its BTP. Polkadot is able to do a lot of cool things, and all the other interoperability ones are able to succeed across the whole world. There's just plenty of room out there. So I hope people focus less on competition and more about just making sure Icon itself gets to a point where it's got enough activity going on and transactions and functionality to accrue value, as Scott was kind of alluding to. So that's just a bit of a little side rant for everyone there.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree.
So just on that then, Scott, is it possible to give us a very simple example of BTP working for everyone out there?
Yeah, I mean, like just a real simple example would be, let's say we wanted to add DOT tokens to OMM.finance. Someone on a Polkadot parachain would send their DOT tokens to a smart contract on this parachain. It would get locked up there. There'd be proof that it was locked up. That proof would be relayed from through BTP from this Polkadot parachain over to the Icon network. Set of the BTP contracts on Icon would verify the proof, recreate the proof themselves and be like, okay, this message from the relayer looks good. And then they would create the DOT tokens, and they're like IRC31 DOT tokens is the standard. So they would be DOT tokens that are on Icon backed by DOT tokens that are locked on a contract on the origination chain, on the parachain. And then they would get sent to Ohm, and you would have the ability to borrow and lend DOT tokens on Icon, for example. And what really gets me excited about this and the way I see the future of blockchains is like, Akala is a parachain on, it's a Polkadot parachain, really focused on DeFi. I could see DOT tokens having a certain interest rate on Akala versus their interest rate on Icon, and being able to take advantage of those interest rate arbitrage opportunities is like why I think BTP interoperability is so essential to really open up these markets, not just globally, but from network to network, not just geographically, but network to network.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you, and that is exactly what I was after. So, and an earlier comment you made. So, essentially, BTP would enable when you mentioned security-wise. So it could be programmed in a way that there are no admin keys, there are no backdoors. So essentially, what is verified via the smart contract and transferred, there's no other way around it, right? Because that's a big point of contention currently going on in like Ren and a few other solutions that cross-chain BTC, etc. There's a lot of focus on who essentially holds the funds, how they're being held, is there backdoors to those funds.
That's entirely it. Yeah, I mean, that's totally it right there. Like, that's the key differentiating factor: security, decentralization. I mean, like, there's no way, no one has access to the keys. The only way to move anything with BTP is for, is for a real message to be sent to it. It's as secure as the two blockchains that are connected. Great. If you get what I'm saying there, because like that's where the smart contracts live, right?
And is it down to an individual basis? So, so taking Orbit Bridge for example, and I know it's a very different solution, but an individual can transfer an asset as long as using the bridge. In the case of BTP, would it be down to the individual layer, or is it more a bit higher in terms of a bulk transfer, etc.?
Well, I'm not exactly clear on the question, but like if you were trying to use like Orbit Bridge versus BTP, that would be down to the user, but I think it would be abstracted away from the person who's actually sending the tokens and be more about the user interface. For example, like, my Icon wallet is going to be expanding to support, BTP when that goes live in, that means my Icon wallet needs to start supporting the blockchains that are connected through BTP, and that
Yep.
turns into the user interface, right?
Yep.
And my Icon wallet, they could have maybe integrated Orbit Bridge, they could have maybe integrated Ren, but because obviously of the relationship here, they're going to be integrating BTP, and that's kind of how like an end user would end up touching BTP is they'd open up my Icon wallet, they see they got their DOT tokens, they see they got their ICX, and then they want to send DOT to an Icon smart contract, and all of that would be handled through my Icon wallet interface, for example.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So another question from Twitter. This came from Elo, the user. That's their username. Do you believe the Oracle solution in place for balanced and OMM will stand up against DeFi hacks? And I guess hacks also, they're usually not hacks, but they're more attacks and manipulations of the protocol itself. But if you want to kind of go into that.
Yeah, I mean, I do have confidence. Band is our Oracle provider. Been working with them for a while. I'm really confident in their team and their technology. And, I think there's, as Balanced continues to grow and we spend more time in development, there's even more security measures that we plan on adding after launch, to get to make sure the Oracle feed is as secure and not easily manipulated as possible.
Excellent. Okay, so and also full credit to the first question was Crypto Patio who sent that. So thank you for those questions.
Good questions.
So I think what I wanted to do as well is throw. Originally, I envisioned this list being very massive, and I could throw wave after wave of question at you, but only managed to note down a few questions. So I thought I'd just throw some quick questions at you, and you can give quick answers, and we'll move on. First question: is there a retro drop planned as part of the airdrip?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on anything like that, unfortunately.
Okay, that was my cheeky one. So, will the balanced exchange add other assets, or just stick to the ones that are minted on the platform?
Yes, we'll add other assets. I was just talking to our developers about it. It's pretty easy to anybody will be able to add whatever assets they want to the balanced DEX. You probably need some development experience to do that, and then eventually we'll have something in the user interface that allows people to search for tokens that are listed on Balanced. Like, we're not going to automatically support everything natively in our front end. It's going to operate very similarly to Uniswap is the end goal, right? Uniswap, it has like a long list of pre-selected, pre-vetted assets, and then if there's some brand new smart contract that someone you want to buy up the whole lot of it, and then you'll have to manually paste in that contract address.
EMV coming to Icon 2.0?
Oh, EVM?
Yes, EVM.
Right? Yeah. We have plans for that.
And EVM is Ethereum Virtual Machine, for those who aren't sure what the acronym was.
And for those that don't even really know what that means, the Ethereum Virtual Machine allows you to run Solidity code, which is the code of all Ethereum smart contracts. So it's really beneficial to be able to leverage existing code as opposed to having to build every single product from scratch. And that's why EVM compatibility is important, even though it may or may not be like an actually better technology in any way than something like the Java virtual machine. And as for our plans for EVM compatibility, we're currently exploring using either the Cosmos SDK or Substrate SDK to launch some kind of like an EVM compatible sidechain to Icon, and the details of how that's going to function economically are still can't share any information on that just now. But I will say that our plan to achieve EVM compatibility is to use a sidechain architecture.
You know what? The quickfire questions really did give us an exclusive. Did not know that. Had not heard that. That is brilliant. Okay, that's a nice juicy bit of information. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, that some of my other quickfire questions I snuck into my earlier questions, so I'm not going to repeat them. So that's all I had. Icongrapher, anything else you want to add?
There was kind of another one. I think just looking for a little bit of clarity for the community. But obviously, people have a choice. They can, once balance launches, they can continue staking their ICX as they normally do, and obviously receive the airdrip for that, or they can obviously utilize the balance protocol itself. So I guess the question is, if they have their ICX locked as collateral and balanced, will they still qualify for the airdrip, or are they only getting the tokens they get? They'll still get balanced tokens, obviously, by using the platform, but will they get the airdrip on top of that, or will that is it kind of one or the other?
Yeah, right now it's one or the other, and I imagine it'll stay that way because there's really no benefit to dripping balance tokens to people who are already using the platform. It's just kind of, you can think of it as like kind of a waste of money in a way, a waste of network resources. If you're trying to think of like how to reward your users, like and how to get new users, rewarding your current users with the additional balance drip, like it's just not necessary. Like there's going to be the vast majority of balance tokens are already given to users. So really the benefit of the airdrip is supposed to be for those that are not using balanced. That's like the main purpose of it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are might be debating, if I get balance tokens anyway, why should I just keep them on my wallet as such? But I think the amount of balance tokens you're going to earn actually utilizing the protocol versus the airdrip is going to be pretty significant to where you're going to be, if you want balance tokens, it's going to make a lot more sense to actually utilize the protocol and take out collateral, at least from my perspective.
No, 100%. And then also being a liquidity provider on the DEX. I mean, I do expect a lot of people to start, saying things like that, like, oh, like, why use balance if I could do this? And then, like, as balance starts and people are earning a ton of balance tokens and making much better returns using balanced, I think those people will start to realize why it makes more sense. And that narrative will probably slowly die.
And then to kind of, you reminded me of a question as far as the DEX is concerned, and I think it's kind of everyone looks at the collateral part of balanced and often kind of forgets about the DEX part of it. Do you just kind of want to explain, how the DEX will work a little bit? Is it more of like a traditional order book, or is it more of an automated market maker, and kind of what the process would look like for people who want to mine balanced via the DEX?
Yeah, balanced is an automated market maker, very similar to Uniswap. To use it as a liquidity provider, you would deposit into a specific liquidity pool. For example, like let's say you wanted to deposit into the balanced dollar versus balanced token pool. You'd have to deposit, $100 worth of balanced and balanced tokens and $100 worth of balanced USD, and then your tokens would be used to make markets. And then you not only earn extra balance tokens for being a liquidity provider, but you also earn transaction fees of people who trade against you.
And I imagine, down the line, it won't just, just because a token is minted isn't the only one minted on balance aren't the only ones that are going to be traded on the DEX. I imagine, say, if the community decides to add a pair for, say, ICX slash a pair against TAP with ICX, I assume that could get added as a pool as well, too, right?
That could get added. It's not going to be incentivized, though. The incentivized pools are decided by balanced governance, but anybody without a vote or anything can just add their own pool to the balance DEX.
Okay, but they would still get trading fees. They wouldn't get the balance tokens, but they would get the trading fees from that, presumably.
Right. Yep.
Right.
So it's like
cool.
when Uniswap and 1inch did their mining program, they selected a few pairs. Essentially, the DEX will be loyal to whatever the governance tokens vote in to have balance distributed to.
That's correct. Yep.
Great.
Well, I think we're out of questions, Scott. If you just want to have sum things up, or just big picture how you view Icon, or however you want to close it out.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I would just say I'm really excited for even the first half of this year, just the coming couple of months, as all these products start launching. So much more transaction volume on our network, just so much more economic activity in general. I'm just really excited to be part of this project, and looking forward to launching all these products just one after another between Balanced, Ohm, and Bridge. All of them, I think, are going to be really important to our ecosystem, and just really huge step up in 2021 of what you'll be able to do with your ICX as an ICX holder, and that's what's most important.
So Scott, and this is I know we're in that very close to launch, and I'm not going to ask about a date, but how those audits, they're going well, aren't they? Are they?
They are, yeah. Audits are
Excellent.
going well. Yep, just finishing up. I think they were supposed to be done at end of February. I think we should get a report either end of today or tomorrow. So things are in good shape.
Ah, D-Day. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Scott, for coming on the show, and very last minute as well. But yeah, you've given us so much information. I think everyone's going to want to tune into this and get the inside scoop. So really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, and happy to come back on anytime. Just let me know.
Oh, we will. Never fear. Maybe the next announcement that's got planned, we'll have an inside breakdown um, of the unannounced project.
Yeah, right. Sounds good.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Yep. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me. Take it easy, guys.
Take care.
And there we go. So that was our interview with Scott. What are your thoughts? How did you feel? What did you take away, Iconographer?
Yeah, as I alluded to, kind of in the opening part of the podcast, I'm someone who follows Icon a pretty good amount, as kind of that's just what I do. And even in this, there was still a bunch of new information that I certainly hadn't been aware of or certainly hadn't thought through. I think one of the main the main point to take away really revolves around BTP. It's been something that the community is kind of generically familiar with. I think everyone knows what BTP means, but I don't know if they quite know exactly how it works and really what the implications are for Icon as a whole. I think getting a practical example of what it does and how it works kind of really opened my eyes into better understanding the actual process behind it. I think too, hearing that they're designing tokenomics around the idea of adding additional benefit with every transaction for our ICX holders, I think is really exciting. You assume that if there's a transaction, there's going to be a transaction fee, and that burns ICX, which is obviously good from a even inflation standpoint. But it sounds like beyond that, there's going to be a bit more work gone into actually adding a bit more value in some way, shape, or form. So it sounds like they put a lot of thought into it. And I'm really excited to see what exactly that looks like and how that plays out. And certainly, I think everyone who's listening to this podcast will get excited about that as well.
Yes, look, I agree. I think we touched on quite a lot in the interview. It was great eye opener for me as well. Particularly, I guess I want to give you a bit of a hard time on holding out on a project, that is in the works that we're not ready to announce yet. I wish I knew this earlier, but that was a nice little surprise of the interview as well. So looking forward to next week. What's going to come off it?
Yeah, I certainly would have liked to have talked about it now, but it's not quite ready yet. But by this time next week, we'll certainly be talking about it, and I'm certainly excited about it. And I think a lot of folks in the community will be excited about it, and it'll add a lot of value to Icon as well. So certainly stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, of course, beyond BTP, just hearing a bit more about Balanced, how we kind of views it over the long term. That's something to really get excited about, and that's just one platform. It sounds like it's going to create a whole lot of different activity. Having a new DEX / AMM on the protocol will be really helpful. Just another way to more easily trade assets across one another, things like that. So just a very exciting interview to walk away from.
Exactly. And, one point that I just feel I want to add, he mentions how the idea of balance came about, and, he references Maker, and it's very early on the Ethereum days. Maker was it. Maker created that aspect of minting a stable coin. And at that time, there was no AMMs or anything. In fact, the interactions with DEXs or any, decentralized exchanges was quite hideous in all honesty. It was cumbersome. It was really hard to interact with. So with Icon, and what he alluded to is once this was built, it created a world of opportunity. So we've got balance coming, and that world of opportunity, we've already got AMMs and lots of things just already either released or about to get released, and balance is just going to enable, as I keep saying, this entire world of possibilities. And you can really tell that from the interview. Scott believes it. In fact, the Icon Foundation, it really resonates with them. That's what they believe. So it was. I enjoyed every aspect of it. And I'm hoping if you got into this part of the podcast, you've enjoyed the interview. And as usual, I just want to call out, everything we discuss on our podcast is our views, our thoughts. It is not financial advice. So please keep that in mind. And remember, crypto is the Wild West. So be careful. It is great to explore it and learn all about it so that you feel comfortable and confident in what you're doing. So yeah, that's all I have. Iconographer, any closing out words?
No, I think we squeezed as much into that podcast as we possibly could. So excited for what the week has to bring, and excited for what the subsequent weeks have to bring as well.
Great, excellent. Thank you everyone for listening, and please hit that subscribe, like, share this around. Really do whatever you can to get this podcast out, and so that everyone can learn about the Balance Protocol that's about to launch. Thanks for listening.